can be viewed on the go now with the Airlink TV app for Google devices. Simply go to the Google Play Store, search for the Airlink TV app. Download the app, click on the link and fill out the form. The account activation will be emailed or texted to the user. It's safe as no credit card is needed. The first 30 days are free and you can subscribe and receive a box for your TV to stream the same content.
High blood pressure is as dangerous as an overpumped balloon. Measuring your blood pressure every day can save you from risk of high blood pressure. MicroLife fully automatic upper arm blood pressure monitor with stroke risk detection. MicroLife AFib screens for atrial fibrillation while taking your blood pressure. High blood pressure and atrial fibrillation are both considered controllable risk factors for stroke. If AFib is present during blood pressure measurement, the AFib icon is displayed flashing at the end of the triple measurement. Once 3 measurements are complete, the measurement data are shown on the display. MicroLife, a partner for people, for life.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Prices on all grocery items. Trust Low Cost Supermarket for the widest variety of quality products at low prices. Freshly picked fruits and vegetables, healthy products for your well-being, high quality meat cuts, and a warm and friendly service. Low Cost Supermarket, Southern Main Road, Canupia.
Good afternoon, assalamu alaikum, and welcome to See Results on IBN TV, as well as the IBN TV Facebook page and the See Results Facebook page. I am Sir Ijaz, and today we'll be doing mathematics and English language arts with Miss Nyla later on at 6 p.m. All right, so it's getting very close to the SEA exam now. Today is the 2nd of March, and the SEA exam is scheduled to be on the 2nd of April. So we have a lot of ground to cover still, and truthfully, we may not be able to complete, every single topic before you write that SEA exam. But as we have been trying to do, we've been covering as many topics as is, humanly possible within our time frame. And hopefully in the future, we'll get to continue with the standard 4 batch now and take you through the full complement of subjects and material. But if not, you will be, helped definitely, those standard 5 students that are on their way right now, by the content that we have provided you with. I hope that the quizzes and so on have been very useful to you on edmodo.com. If you are now joining us, you have a whole host of quizzes that you can log on and do and benefit from and use as a, supplementary tool in your preparation for the SEA exam, as well as the videos that are there on the Facebook page, on the See Results Facebook page under the videos tab, as well as on the YouTube channel. You can use them to aid you in studying, all right, because we have covered quite a lot of material, so it will be of benefit to you regardless, all right? So, we're going to continue pushing. We still have 4 weeks, and the week of SEA itself. We'll probably get in a couple of programs there as well. So we welcome you, and, thank you for joining us and for putting your faith in us to help you get where you want to go. So as is our custom on a Monday, we like to review the results of our students and let you know how you've been doing as a class, that the parents know these areas that give the students trouble. We have been able to identify several of those areas in the course of our program so far. And, it's beneficial for all of us to get an idea of where we are as a group, right? So now we are up to 646 student members, and we still have, roughly a quarter of the parents actively tracking the progress. And if this is your first time viewing, that means on the edmodo.com or the Edmodo app class that we have, where we post quizzes and assignments weekly based on the content that we do on the show. All right, so this week going here, which would have been the week of Carnival, all of these quizzes were due on Friday at 11:59 p.m. We did have a bit fewer submissions than we usually would. That was understandable, and we did budget for that, right? We did hold off on carrying on with our creative writing submissions. So, if you've been wondering why you didn't get one last week Saturday, or the Saturday gone, right, before the Saturday that just went, right, one has been posted on Saturday now for you to continue with that creative writing. So do continue with your stories. All right, so we had 84 students that submitted the English Language Arts assignment, which was another graphic one, interpretation of the graphics, right? And we do have one more of those that was posted on Saturday. And of course, the next step, you'll be getting a poetry quiz based on the content that Ms. Nyla will be doing this week. She has already started the poetry, all right? So 93% of our students passed that ELA quiz, right, with an average score of 73%. So our students have been doing quite well in the graphic interpretation. Of course, it's a little bit different to the SEA exam, where you have to, write in your own independent thoughts. We do basically give you choices here. It makes it easier for marking, but at any rate, it does improve your interpretation or interpretive skills of these graphics, right? We had 89 mathematics students that submitted the quiz that was based on the Section 2 statistics, as well as the patterns, right? Pattern recognition. We're talking about geometric patterns here. And 72% of the students passed that particular assignment with an average score of 61%. So it's not the greatest score or the greatest average we've had on the class, but it's not as bad as some of the previous topics where we identified that a lot of work needed to go into still, right? But that's not to say that it should be overlooked. You should try to prepare yourself for everything that can potentially come in the paper, because that will assure you of a decent mark in your SEA, and hopefully the mark that you are looking for. All right, so we actually, this should say 3 and not 2. We have 3 new assignments that were posted on Saturday. Of course, that is the English Language Arts, the mathematics, as well as the creative writing, and the continuation of the whole story piece that we are taking. All right, which is based on the narrative writing component of it. We are still doing report writing currently. So that will be due on Friday at 11:59 p.m. So, please get on it. And, we're just going to give a little leeway here. If for some reason you haven't been from the first week submitting your first and then second paragraph in the second assignment of that narrative piece, and you still want to get on board, right? Remember, especially those Standard 5 students, you are running out of time now, right? So as much practice as you can get, better for you. So you can feel free to message us and let us know, if you want us to take the first 2 paragraphs as well, all right? And we'll try to accommodate you if possible. So how did our students do? Well, we had quite a number of students that were able to get 100% in both the graphic from the ELA as well as the mathematics, right? So I want to say a huge congratulations to Nihan Abdul, Joshua Barrow, Jasmine Grant, Chloe Lashley, Shania Martin, and Yvonne Powder. This name, Chloe Lashley, I believe it's a new one to the program, you know, so somebody that came in with a bang, basically. So congrats to you and to all of those who attained full marks. And of course, we also mentioned those who missed out, you know, just by a mark in either of those quizzes. And we have a few honorable mentions, you know, several honorable mentions this week. Julia, Florence, Travell, Kevin, Francisco, John, Zaria, Jordan, Jacob, Faye, Shane, Noah, Jonathan again. Or is that the first Jonathan? No, that's the first Jonathan. And Cassie, Josiah, Ariana, and Jordan. So that, you know, that tells you that the students did really well for these particular quizzes. And we had some students, this would be for the second paragraph in the complete narrative story that we are working on right now. We had Sebastian and Caitlin really excelling, as well as Julia, Aditya, Antonia, and Zaria again, right? So you'd notice that several of these names, they pop up every single week for the most part. And we like to, you know, congratulate you and to continue to encourage you. We actually don't know how many of these are standard 4 versus standard 5, right? We know some of you, but we don't know all, right? And we want to say, you know, keep up the good work. And we hope that, you know, you'll be writing us, messaging us in the near future to let us know that the SEA exam was awesome, all right? And hopefully when you get your results as well, later on you won't forget us, right? And you let us know how it went. So we're back now into the mathematics aspect of it. And you'll notice that number is the strand of mathematics that has the most number of questions, right? So number has the most number of questions. And, you know, we've been in section 1 for a very long time when it comes to number because of the quantity of topics that we have to cover, right? So we're trying to strike a little balance here between our current standard 5 and, you know, those that are in standard 4 who are also with us. So we're going to try now in this last month here before SEA to fast track a little bit. And hopefully we'll get an opportunity to come back and expand upon those topics that we would, you know, we would really like to make sure that, you know, the standard 4 and, you know, maybe potential standard 4 of next academic year would have, you know, opportunity to see these topics covered more in depth. And of course, it would be available on the YouTube channel. But we'll try to give it, you know, as good a treatment as we can in the interim, right, for the benefit of our current standard 5 students. So like we said, 22 questions on number in the entire paper, which is made up of 45 questions, so basically half of the paper. So a lot of topics, right? And hopefully this week, between today and Thursday, we'll now move on from section 1 when it comes to number. As we said, fast tracking a little bit to try to get into some of the more complex questions in those latter sections of the paper. It has been requested on the Edmodo page, and we have heard your request, all right? So that was our bit of weekly recap there, and now we're into the questions. All of these questions, you know, are those types of questions from the number section which we haven't looked at before. You know, usually all of our questions are accompanied by, you know, a main lesson. But again, as we said, we won't be able to do that for all the topics now within number before the SEA exam. So some of them we'll have to take a pause and explain it a bit. Others we'll try to, you know, give you a quick summary, and hopefully that will be helpful to you when you rewatch it on the YouTube channel and work with your material at home, right? So our numbers are there on the screen for you right now. You can feel free to give us a call and help me with these questions that we have to work on today, right? As we said, for number section 1. So Sebastian is 7 years older than his sister, right? His sister was born in 2005. And what year was Sebastian born? I have a caller on the line. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV. Hello, good afternoon, caller.
Hello?
Hi, good day, and who am I speaking with?
Hello?
Hi, caller. So you need to lower the volume on your television and listen on the phone, please, so that you can hear me and I won't hear your feedback, right? All right. You seem to have lost that one. And for all of our callers right now, please, take heed. Our operators do ask you to lower the volume when you are calling. As a matter of fact, you should mute it and listen to us on the telephone, right? You will be able to hear yourself later on our YouTube channel and on the Facebook page. So good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Hello?
Hi, good day, and who am I speaking with?
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Hello?
Good afternoon, caller. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, good evening. This is Nicholas. Sorry.
All right, Nicholas. Nicholas, somebody else using your phone there?
No?
All right. So, Nicholas, my friend, this one is an easy one, right? So
Yes,
tell me what you're
so they
thinking.
say Sebastian is 7 years older than his sister, right? So his sister was born 2005. So what we say 2005 from 7, and that will give you 1998.
All right, you take 7 from 2005, right?
Yeah.
All right, excellent, 1998. Very good, Nicholas.
Okay.
All right, so Nicholas getting our ball rolling there. And this is a quite easy one, but, I just have to mention that actually it's not uncommon for somebody to make a mistake here in their haste, in their excitement and anticipation, right? And add 7 because you're thinking older, you're thinking more, right? Yes, older is more. You are older, you have been alive longer, right? Right? He's 7 years older than his sister, but when you're comparing now to his sister, that means if he's older than her, that means he was born before her, right? So if his sister is born in 2005 and he is 7 years older than her, then he would have to be born 7 years prior to her birth, right? That's why we subtract and we don't add. And you take 7 away from 2005, as Nicholas rightly said, and we got 1998 as the year in which Sebastian was born, right? So that's well done. And that is our answer. We have another question now. All right, I have a call on the line. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results. All right, so I'll read the question while we await another call. Every 6 shopper entering a store gets a token. A total of 84 shoppers visited the store. How many shoppers did not get tokens? And notice not is highlighted there, right? So we have every 6th shopper getting a token, 84 shoppers in all. How many tokens or how many people did not get tokens? Do I have a caller on the line? Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. And who am I speaking with?
Jacob.
Welcome, Jacob. So, Jacob, can you help me with this question?
Yes.
All right, so go ahead.
Every 6th customer got a token. Therefore, to find how much people got tokens, it will be 84 divided by 6, which is 14.
Right.
Therefore, the people who did not get tokens, which is what they want, is 84 minus 14, which is 70.
Excellent work, Jacob. That is most correct, right? So again, just to put pen to paper here a little bit, we have a promotion here at a store where every 6th customer that enters the store is getting a token, right? 84 people entered, 84 shoppers entered. So to know how many of them got tokens, we divide by 6, right? And as Jacob said, that means 14 customers got tokens, but we are interested here in those who did not get tokens, right? So we have to take the total number of customers that were there and subtract the number who got tokens, and that will leave us with 70 shoppers not getting tokens, all right? So I hope everyone out there got that, and we'll be moving on now to our third question for today, right? And these questions here, you know, as we said, it's some of the stuff that we didn't get to cover in depth. Some of it is just basically logic, you know, and applying your mathematical operations to these questions that are testing your logic and your reasoning, all right? And we also have some more questions in the area of fractions that we didn't look at as yet. Of course, we looked at some aspect of fractions before, and you can look at those videos on the YouTube channel as well as on the Facebook page to get an idea of what we did in fractions so far, and we'll be doing some more stuff in fractions today, right? So here I have another question. Kaylee sold her used computer game for $350 and she made a loss of $80, right? So what was the cost price of the computer game? All right, I love these questions because they are actually very much, you know, applicable to your life. Consumer arithmetic is very pertinent, you know, it's a very pertinent topic to your life skills. So I have a caller on the line now. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Good afternoon.
Hi, and who am I speaking with?
Zia Doman.
Welcome to our program. So, if Kaylee sold her used computer game for $350 and she made a loss of $80, what did she pay for that computer game?
Well, firstly, I added $350 and $80, and I got $450. So the cost price is $450.
All right, excellent. Right, so this is a bit of an easy one, but we're just running through the stuff. So thank you so much for your call, and your answer is absolutely correct. Right?
Thank you.
So, as our dear caller there just told us, right, she sold her used computer game for $350, right? Great. And in doing that, she made a loss of $80. So that means, you know, a profit was not made there. She didn't break even. She actually lost some money. All right. So if she lost money on that sale, that means that the computer game had to have cost more than what she sold it for. So when we add, you know, the value of that loss to the selling price, right, which was $350 here, in this case, we get the cost price of the computer game, which was $430. All right. So again, you know, it might seem quite easy, and I'm sure a lot or most, the majority of our students who are viewing will get this without much difficulty. But there's always, you know, that person who needs a reminder, as our quizzes show us every week. All right. Sometimes students struggle with very basic questions. So our job here is to try to level the playing field, try to get everybody on the same page. All right. So don't think that it's too easy. Of course, our section 2 and 3 number type questions are going to come very soon after this week, and the difficulty will be turned up a bit. So again, we have another question here with money, and it's dealing here now again with your logic and your reasoning. So we have $4.07 here being equal to some amount of 5-cent coins and 2 1-cent coins. We want to figure out how many 5-cent coins make up this particular arrangement here. So I have a caller on the line. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Please have.
All right, I seem to have lost that one. I have another. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. And who am I speaking with?
Jacob.
Hey, welcome back, Jacob. So, Jacob, give me your thoughts for this question here.
Okay, so they already gave us amount of 1-cent coins, which is 2 1-cent coins.
Right.
So it's equal to 2 cents.
Right.
So if you since you already have that, you minus the 2 from the 4.07,
Great.
and you will get $4.75.
You sure about that?
No, you're minusing 2 from the 407.
And how much will that give us?
$4.05.
Right, 5 cents, right?
Yeah.
All right, great. So what is the next step now?
Okay, so the next step is to divide 4.05 by 5 to find how many 5-cent coins there are, which would give you a box.
All right, and can you do that division for me?
Yes, it would be 81.
All right, great. So the answer is
81
5-cent coins, all right?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much, Jacob. All right, so just to clarify a bit there, something that Jacob just said, all right, we actually subtracted here the 2 cents that we know about, right? We have two 1-cent pieces. All right, now we have $4.05 remaining to make up in 5-cent coins. All right, so what you actually have to do here is to convert this $4.05 into cents first before you divide it by 5. All right, if you divided 4.05 as Jacob said, but I understand what he meant and he did arrive at the right answer, you would not get 81 actually, right, if you divided 5 into 4.05. Right, and of course you can double check that at home. So we convert here this $4.05 into cents by multiplying by 100, all right, because 100 cents make up $1, and we're going to get 405 cents, all right. And we have ample practice now moving this decimal point when we're multiplying and dividing. All right, so we have 405 cents. And if we divide that now by the 5 cents, right, by 5 cents, we'll get how many 5-cent pieces there are. And of course, that will give us the value of 81 5-cent coins, right? So that is the answer for this question, okay? All right, so we have another question here now, and we're back into the realm of fractions. So we're going to be looking at some questions in fractions that we haven't tackled so far on the program. All right, I have a caller on the line, and I will take this caller to help me with this question. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. And who am I speaking with?
Leah Doman.
All right, so welcome to our program. So if 1/5 of a number is 72, what is the number? How do you know what number we have to get there?
Well, I have to divide 72 by 1/5. So therefore I have to say 72 over 1 multiplied by 5 over 1, and I will get 360.
360, excellent. That is definitely our answer there, right? Thank you so much for that call. All right, so that's the one way to think of it, as in dividing 72 by 1/5. All right, and of course you can think about it in another way. All right, so remember we talked about fractions being equal parts of something. All right, that's difference between fractions and unequal sharing. So if 1 equal part out of 5, right, is equal to 72, then we want to know what 5 equal parts out of it would be equal to, of course, all right, which would give us our whole. So we multiply here the 72 by the 5, all right, and we got 360. All right, so that is correct. And we move along to our 5th question. So here we have a question with writing fractions in ascending order. All right, and there's something unique about this question, which is the reason why I'm including it here today, because we did look at 1 or 2 questions on ordering fractions and decimals and percentages combined. All right, now this is a question with fractions alone, and we have to order them in ascending order. All right? So I have a caller on the line, and I'll take this caller. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Hi,
Hi, and who am I speaking with?
Naomi Mohammed.
Hey, welcome, Naomi Mohammed. Naomi, I noticed you haven't been doing your work on Edmodo lately. What's going on?
I keep on missing them.
All right, so try not to miss this week's one, right? You have until Friday. All right, so help me out here now, Naomi. We have these 4 fractions, and we have to write them in ascending order. Go ahead and tell me your thoughts.
First thing, we look at the denominators,
Right.
and then we see that they're different. But we look at the numerators, and we see that they're all the same.
Yeah.
So since they're the same, we look at the denominators, and we arrange them in from smallest to largest.
All right. So go ahead and arrange them for me now.
3/8,
Yeah.
3/5, and 3/4.
3/7, 3/5, and 3/4.
Yes.
All right, Naomi, well done. That is very correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Bye.
Bye. So, all right, what is the difference here between what we did previously is that we were probably given some fractions with different denominators as we have here, as well as different numerators, right? So then, as we learned, we'll have to come to convert them or to change them into equivalent fractions, right? All with the same denominator, and then we'll order them based on the size of the numerator, right? Whether it's ascending or descending. But in this particular case, we have all of the numerators being equal to 3. So we don't really need to do any conversions, right? What we need to do is to look at the denominators, as Naomi said, right? And think of it this way, right? If I don't know, I have a piece of roti, right? Or a roti, a sada roti, and I break it up into 5 equal pieces. I have another, I break it up into 8 equal pieces. Another, I break it up into 4. Another, I break it up into 7, right? If you gave me 3 pieces of the roti that was broken equally up into 8 pieces, I would have less than if you give me 3 of the pieces where the roti was broken up into 4. All right? So that's one way to think about it. And of course, we did discuss that aspect of it very much in our previous videos on fractions. So if you want to learn more about equivalent fractions, if you're a bit shaky with regard to that, you can look for those videos on the YouTube channel. All right, but because we know it's all 3 equal parts here now, right, of some larger fraction, right, some larger whole that's divided up into different number of pieces, right, the more that thing is broken up, right, is the smaller each individual piece will be. The more you break up something into equal pieces, right, each of those pieces become smaller and smaller. So if I have 3/8, again, as I said, of the roti, I like to use the pizza example, so I'm switching it up now a little bit, right? That's smaller than if I broke it up into 7 equal pieces, than if I broke it up into 5 equal pieces, than if I broke it up into 4 equal pieces. And because it's all 3 pieces we are looking at, we just need to put them in ascending order, in which case the larger number means it's broken up into, the larger denominator, I should say, means that it's broken up into smaller amounts, all right? So therefore, this would be it in ascending order, and in descending order, we just have to go in the very opposite direction to what we have here on the screen right now. So thank you, Naomi, for that, and I hope that explanation was clear. You all can rewatch that explanation as many times as you like, all right? So now I'm going to take a short break for about 2 minutes, and I'll be back, and we'll continue with more of our questions. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Flavored water. Water, but better.
Audio preview.
Good afternoon, assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to See Results on IBN TV, as well as the IBN TV Facebook page and the See Results Facebook page. So today is Monday, and we are working on our mathematics preparation right now for SCA, and we have been looking at questions under the strand of number. All right, we're trying to take you through as many as possible to ensure that you're prepared for that exam that is, a month away from today. So we just had Naomi help us here with this question, and we're now moving on to another. And if you'd like to assist us, the numbers are provided for you on the screen, and you can give us a call. All right, I'll read the question in the meantime. So Yusuf has 3 times more money than his sister Aziza. Together they have $160. How much money does Yusuf have? All right. So on edmodo.com, students pose questions like these all the time. They really like to work on those, and they test each other. So now you have an opportunity here to answer one on live television, right? I have a caller. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Hi, good day.
Hi, good day.
This is Kate Spencer.
Oh, welcome, Kelly Spencer. Oh, can you offer me some ideas for this question?
Okay, so if you're 160, take away 3.
Take away 3. All right.
And then after you got 157, and you divide that by 2.
All right. So think about what's taking place here in this question, right? Yusuf has 3 times more money, not $3 more than his sister Aziza, right? And altogether they have $160. So how much money does Yusuf have, right? Is this your first time doing one of these?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Well, here what? I'm going to give another caller a try, but I want you to stay tuned because I want to explain it to you as well, right? So listen out for the next caller and the explanation to follow. So I have another caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV. Good afternoon.
Hello,
Hi, good afternoon. Who am I speaking with?
Jacob.
Welcome, Jacob. So, Jacob, what are your ideas on this question? Let's help Kaylee out.
Okay, so Aziza, let's just say she is X.
All right.
and Yusuf is 3x.
Okay.
So if you add those, you have 4x in total.
Right.
So to find how much Aziza has, you would do 160 divided by 4, which is $40.
Right.
So if Yusuf has 3 times more, then Yusuf will have 40 multiplied by 3, which is $120.
All right, excellent work. So thank you, Jacob, for that answer. And Yusuf does have $120. But I'm going to take a couple minutes now here on this question just to explain something to you viewers. You know, I hope Kaylee is still there listening, and don't feel any way about it, Kaylee. That is fine. We are all here to learn, all right? Now, the approach that Jacob just took is one of algebra, right, which is not really, you know, part of the SEA syllabus per se, but I assume that his teacher in school taught him that, and of course, as you advance in your mathematical career as a student, all right, you will be exposed to algebra, and what he just said is a very valid approach, and the answer that he gave us is correct. All right, but we can also use something here called the block method. All right, and we know that Yusuf has 3 times more money than his sister. So we're going to assume here that these blocks are drawn perfectly equal to each other. All right, you can draw yours neater than mine on your paper at home. All right, so we have Aziza now having 1 equal share here, and Yusuf has 3 times the amount of Aziza. So altogether, this is broken up into 4 equal parts. All right, just Yusuf's is 3 times that of Aziza. So in order to figure out how much money Yusuf has, we can multiply 3/4 of 160, all right, and that will give us 3 times 40, which is equal to 120. All right, so this is an approach that everyone can probably use, you know, and visualize at this level. Of course, when you start to introduce, you know, the algebraic terms and so on, it is, of course, that's the way that mathematics goes. That's the direction it takes as you progress, all right? But we want to make sure everybody can creep before they walk, all right? So well done, Jacob. You know, that answer is correct. I am not sure how they would treat that in the SEA in terms of marking it, all right? But that is the answer as well, all right, by letting x be equal to Aziza and Yusuf be equal to 3x and so on, all right? But this is an approach here that you can surely take into the examination room without any problems, all right? So, Kaylee, I hope you were paying attention. You got a bonus answer there from Jacob as well as one from myself, all right? And of course, in the realm of fractions, right, we never got to do a full lesson yet on fraction multiplication. It comes up every now and again, sometimes unrelated to the number questions that we are doing. All right, so hopefully in the future, when we continue to teach and to carry on the program with our Standard 4 students, you know, fractions is a very huge topic, as well as decimals and percentages and so on, and there's a lot more scope for us to go into it even more in depth. But as we said, we are trying now to, you know, help our Standard 5 students in this particular month more than ever. All right, guys? So we have another question here now. And I'm just going to read this question. I have to do a little bit of teaching here. So we won't take calls as yet, right? And then we'll come back to this question and we'll look at it in depth, all right? So Shania cut 7 pizzas into 8s, right? 8s, you know, notice that HS or THS at the end there, right? So we know we are dealing with fractions. And she shared 30 slices, right? The fraction that remained as a mixed number, all right? So we have not got to look at mixed numbers and improper fractions, right? We looked at the proper fractions, equivalent fractions, reducing fractions, comparing fractions, all right? As we said, fractions is a lot of work. So let's just give you a little small lesson here now into mixed numbers and improper fractions. I really want that to be available for our students before they write the SCA exam, because it's a topic that, you know, troubles people a lot, all right? Even more advanced students than primary school students. So remember, when we learned about proper fractions, we learned that the numerator is smaller than the denominator in a proper fraction, right? And as we see here, we have some examples. We have a half, 2/3, 3/5. Notice that the numerator in all of these cases is smaller than the denominator. So that is a proper fraction, all right? And an improper fraction now is basically the reverse of that. So an improper fraction, it's more than a whole, all right? More than one whole, right? And the numerator in the improper fraction is larger than the denominator. So we see here we have 7/3 or 7/3, 11/2 or 11/2, right? We have 9/4, 9/4, and 13/8, all right? So it's more than a whole, right? It can be several wholes in addition to the remainder as well, right? So that's one way to express it. And the other way to express it is as a mixed number. Now, a mixed number consists of a whole number and a proper fraction. And remember, the proper fraction is where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. And we have here some examples of mixed numbers. We have 2 1/3, all right, 5 1/2, 4 1/4. And the thing about it is that we are supposed to be able to change from a mixed number to an improper fraction or an improper fraction to a mixed number, all right? And it's actually, you know, well, I wouldn't say easy because it does sometimes confuse people a little bit, but it's not very difficult once you take your time and you apply the steps that I'm about to teach you, all right? And I'm sure most of you know it already, but again, it's a problem area. And we want to make sure that, you know, it's there, it's available for study after we finish with the program today. I don't want to just run through this one. All right, so when we have an improper fraction and we want to convert it to a mixed number, what we do is to divide the numerator by the denominator, and then we put the remainder over the denominator. Divide the numerator by the denominator, and put the remainder over the denominator. And of course, this will be best understood with an example or two. So here we have 11/2, right, or 11/2, and it is written as 5 1/2, all right? So I write it vertically so it will look more familiar to you here, all right? So how many times can 2 go into 11? Right, well, hopefully we should know that it will go into 11 5 times, right, because 5 2s are 10, and we have a remainder of 1. So we take this 1 remainder here, and we put it over that denominator. All right, we put it over the denominator. So 11/2 or 11/2 is the same as 5 1/2. All right, second example here now, where we'll see, right, we have here 19/8, all right, 19/8, and we want to express that as a mixed number. So remember our steps: we divide the numerator by the denominator, right? Divide the numerator by the denominator and put the remainder over the denominator. How many times can 8 go into 19? 2 times. 8 2s are 16. And we have a remainder of 3 to get to 19, right? So we have 2 3/8. All right? So please bear that in mind. What about if it was, let's say, 18 over 8, right? And we had to convert that to a mixed number. It would be 2, because 8 2s are 16, right? And we'd have a remainder of 2 over 8. And when this happens, you know, when we have the improper fraction being not in its lowest terms, we can always reduce it to its lowest terms, right? So we'd get here 2 and a quarter, all right, if we divide both the numerator and the denominator of the proper fraction here by 2, all right? So that's how we go from an improper fraction to a mixed number. And of course, ideally now, in our typical fashion, we'd have had a whole bunch of questions to do, but I do have a few, all right? And then we'll get back to the question from the SEA sample papers, all right? And what if we are doing the opposite now? We are converting from a mixed number to an improper fraction. Well, the steps are different this time. We have to multiply the whole number by the denominator, all right? And we add the numerator to the product, all right? So the product is that number you get when you multiply two numbers, right? And we put the total over the denominator, again, best understood with an example accompanying it. All right, so we have here 2 2/3, and we have to convert that to a improper fraction. So as our instructions said, we have to multiply the whole number by the denominator, right? We multiply the whole number by the denominator. So you're multiplying here 2 by 3, all right? And then we have to add the numerator to the product and put the total over the denominator. So add the numerator here to our product and put it all over this denominator underneath here, all right? So how much is 2 multiplied by 3, which is our product, the product that we're speaking of? That is 6, all right? And we add that product to the numerator, all right? So 6 plus 2 is 8. So we'll get 8. And we put this all over the denominator, which is 3, all right? And here's our second example. We have 5 and 3 over 5, or 5 and 3/5. And we do the same. We multiply the whole number by the denominator. 5 5s are 25. And we add that to the numerator. 25 plus 3 is equal to 28. And we put it all over the denominator, all right? So it's not that difficult once you remember how to do the steps, right? What steps to use in order to get from one to the other. And of course, we're going to give you an opportunity now here to attempt some before we get back into that SEA question. So the numbers are available on the screen for you. And we have 3 to go from improper to mixed numbers, and we have 3 to convert from mixed numbers to improper fractions. So if you are, you know the answer to any of these, or you just want to give it a try, please give us a call. All right, we have 15 over 7, 23 over 3, and 31 over 4. So good afternoon and welcome to See Results on IBN TV. Hello, good day, caller.
Hi, good evening.
Hey, welcome back, Nicholas.
Hi. For 15 over 7, right?
Yeah.
You say 7 can go into 15, 1, that remains 7. No, sorry, that's 2 and 1/7.
Right, very good. So you can go into 15 twice.
Right, and that will give you a remainder of 1, and you put it over 7, so you get 2 and 1/7.
Excellent work, Nicholas. Thank you so much for your help.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, so we have another caller on the line to help us with 23 over 3. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Good afternoon.
All right, and who am I speaking with?
Yes, Spencer.
Hey, welcome back, Kaylee. Kaylee, you got our explanation just now with the question with Yusuf and Aziza?
Yeah.
All right, great. So we have 23 over 3, and we want to convert that to a mixed number, what do we do?
You break it down, and you will get 7 and 2/3.
7 and 2/3. All right, so when you say break it down, what do you mean by that?
You divide it. You divide 3 into 2/3, and you will get a remainder.
All right.
I mean, 23, sorry.
23. Very good, Kaylee. Well done. So we say 3 into 23 is 7. 7 3s are 21. And we have a remainder of 2/3. So far, so good. And I have one more caller. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV. Hi, good day, caller.
Hello?
Hi. Welcome to See Results. Who am I speaking with?
Ivanka.
Sorry?
Ivanka.
All right, welcome to the program. So if we have 31/4 and we want to convert 31/4 to a mixed number, how much is that?
So 1 into 4 is 8, and 1 remaining is over 4 and 1/4.
All right, so you're saying 4 into 31 is 8?
Yeah.
All right, how much is 8 times 4?
32.
Right, so 32 is more than 31, right?
Oh, so 7 and 7. No.
Yeah, you're good with 7, but what is the remainder? How much is 7 times 4?
28.
28. And how much more to get to 31?
3 times.
3, right? So what I'm going to do with that 3 now?
8/4.
All right, so what is the final answer?
7 and 3/4.
7 3/4. Well done. Thank you so much for your help. All right, so, okay, so when we're doing this division, you know, you have to go to the multiple be just before the numerator, right? Not the multiple after the numerator. So that's fine. We have our answer there. And we have some mixed numbers to convert to improper fractions. I have a caller on the line. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And who am I speaking with?
Andrea George.
Welcome, Andrea. So, Andrea, we have 4 and 2/7 to convert to an improper fraction. What is the answer there, Andrea?
The answer is 15/7.
All right, tell me how you got that 15.
I multiply 4 by 2, which is 8. And 4 by, no, I have to multiply 4 by 7.
Right.
Which is 28.
Excellent.
Plus 2, which is 30.
And how much is it over?
30/7.
Excellent work, Andrea. Well done. All right, so guys, yeah, go ahead. All right. So, right, we just got a classic error there where our caller multiplied 4 by 2, all right, and got 8 and added it to 7 and gave us 15/7 at the first attempt, all right, before she corrected herself. Remember, we multiply the whole number by the denominator. So 7 4s are 28. We add the product to our numerator and we get 30/7. All right, so that's why I had to do this before we moved on. All right, we need practice in this. I have a caller on the line. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV. Hi, good day, caller.
Hello?
Hi, good day.
Hello?
Yes, hello, and who am I speaking with?
Jaden?
Jaden?
Yes.
All right, Jaden. So we have 7 5/9, and we want to convert this into an improper fraction.
You had to multiply 7 and add it with 5.
Right.
And 7 9s are equal 63.
Yeah.
63 add 5 is 68 over 7.
Over 7?
Yes.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. So we put it over the denominator, right? So it has to actually be over 9.
All right, 9, sorry.
All right?
Right, sorry, it's 9.
No problem, Jaden. Thank you so much for your call. All right, so again here, I have to stop and explain a little bit.
Okay.
All right, so thank you so much for calling, Jaden. Right, we multiply the whole number by the denominator, right, which is 63. Added it to the numerator, which is 5, and got 68. And you have to take care to put it over the denominator, not over anything else, all right? So final question, we have 1 and 7 over 15. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to See Results on IBN TV.
Hi,
Hi, who am I speaking with?
Lionel.
Hey, welcome, Lionel. So, Lionel, help me to convert 1 and 7 over 15 to an improper fraction, please.
You have to multiply 15 by 1, and you get 15, and 15 plus 7 is 22. So the answer is 22 over 15.
Well done, Lionel. With much confidence, right? Thank you so much for that call and for your help.
Welcome.
All right, guys. So I'm going to have to wrap it up there for today. All right, and we'll get back into our section 1 number, fast tracking session on Thursday. We'll try to get through as many as possible. All right, and feel free to still register for our class on edmodo.com. All right, the code to register, it is 6KJQ3Y. All right, you visit edmodo.com or you download the Edmodo app, and you can register your child or your ward for the program. Please do so. All right, and you will be able to benefit from our weekly quizzes. All right, so that's all the time I have for today. We'll be joined in 2 or 3 minutes by Miss Nyla with English Language Arts. So don't go anywhere. All right, we have some fun questions for you to do in the English Language Arts. I have been Sir Ijaz. Have a pleasant evening. Assalamu alaikum.
Become a cool kid now by visiting www.fruiticoolkids.com.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome back to See Results. I'm Miss Nyla, and now you are joining us for ELE, right? So welcome one and all of you joining us on our Facebook page via See Results or the IBN TV page or IBN TV 8 channel, right? So welcome students. So I must tell you, of course, we are excited, right? Today marks exactly 1 month till the SE exam. Right, so we just have a little bit of time I don't know, guys, about you, but I am feeling nervous for my students, so I can imagine how the students are feeling themselves. But don't worry, we are here to help you. We are in the process of getting ready. We still have a month, or a little under a month to work with, so make sure and maximize your time, okay? That's what it's all about. Okay, so last day in ELA, we started, we just started poetry. Right, so if you missed that, guys, we just did an introduction into poetry. We haven't actually started with the questions as yet, but that's what we are going to do today. Right, first, what we did, we looked at some tips on interpreting a poem, which is really important, and I'm going to discuss a bit further on that shortly. But what we also did, which was really, really important, and I do urge you guys, if you missed it, to go back and rewatch those videos. We looked at or recapped on the different figurative language, right? So different devices. Now, previously, we did touch on a few, but we added 2 more to the list, right? So now we are probably up to about 7 different literary devices. Reason being, we want to be able to identify all of them if we are asked in a poem, right? You know, in poetry, literary devices is really important, not only for your narrative style writing, but for poetry, right? Poetry is written in such a way, right, relates to the senses, sensory details, figurative language, right? So you must be able to internalize the information given, to interpret that, to understand what a poem is telling you. It's not as straightforward as the graphic that we just completed is, right? And this section is actually in section 2, but this task is actually with 20 marks, right? So this is a lot of marks, so we place a lot of emphasis on comprehension. Now, poetry. We are not on comprehension as yet, right? So poetry as well, they ask you questions, right? So thinking questions, non-thinking questions, but you must be able to differ between the two and answer questions regardless of its difficulty. So that's what we are helping you to do. We are helping you to understand, you know, what a poem might be saying. You know, sometimes you're a little bit confused when you read a poem once, you read it twice, and then you have to sit there and you still don't understand what they're asking. So I'm going to show you how to break down, right, how to analyze a poem, how to analyze questions, how to approach these questions, right? I'm going to be very honest, sometimes they can be very tricky. Similarly with comprehension, when we start that, we will see that the questions can be very tricky. So you must, you know, make sure or ensure that you understand what the question is asking you, right? So when we are doing or understanding a poem, we're answering these questions, there are some things that we must look at or be mindful of in poetry, right? So let's just run through the tips again, right, for interpreting a poem. Now, as we go through these tips, you're going to see why it is important and how the information, the little bits of information is going to help you to assess your poem. Right, so here, the first point says, read the title as a clue to the meaning. So whatever the title of the poem is, right, take that as a clue. Be sure, don't just rush into the poem itself. Look at the title, look at the author, right? All of that is part of your poem. Look at it carefully, right? Read the whole poem to get the general idea and mood, right? So you look at the, so as I was saying last day, there are two approaches basically, right, that I like to go with. The first one being you read the questions and then you go to the poem. So when you go to the poem, you have to the back of your mind some of the things that you're already looking for. So they are going to stand out to you, right, a little better than if you read the poem and then read the questions. And that, guys, is the second approach. You read the poem and then you go to the questions, you read the questions, and then you go back to your poem and you reread it again. Now, it's very important, whichever method that you decide, right, either is fine. Just ensure that you read the poem properly, read it more than once, read it up to 3 times if necessary. Similarly with the questions, right, you should also reread those questions, read them over and over and ensure you have the answer that they're asking for, right? Please, sometimes we misinterpret the questions, we're so busy, we're in a rush, I don't know, probably we're running out of time. That's another thing, right, time management, but ensure that you read those questions properly. Right, and the second part of this point says, and mood, right? And I'm going to touch on mood a little bit later on today, right, before we get started on poetry, right? So just hold that thought on mood a little bit. Next, ask yourself, what is this about? What is the poem saying? What does the poem say, right? and what is the theme. Again, this is all about understanding, after you have read the poem, understanding what the poem is saying. So now, by the time you have finished reading the poem, you can think back without looking at the poem and say, well, the poem is about this, or I understand this from reading this line, right? So you don't continuously have to go back to the poem to identify, well, what is the poem talking about? That's what I mean when I say understanding the poem. I do not mean do not go back to the poem to answer questions. Of course, we need to refer to the poem for our questions, right? I mean understanding the poem. Once you understand the poem, it's going to become a lot easier to work with the questions, right? Reread the poem using the punctuation as a guide. Poems are written in stanzas or verses, right? So here they're telling you to use punctuation as a guide, meaning, right, as we have here stanzas and verses, sometimes in verses, those are the lines in your poem, right? They may have a comma after each line or probably a full stop after 2 lines, right? So what I'm telling you here, read that line. So if there's a full stop after 2 lines, read the 2 lines and then stop at the full stop. So you get the entire idea or the complete idea of that sentence. Similarly with the stanza. Sometimes in a stanza there are 4 lines, right? But neither of all of those lines actually doesn't have a full stop. Right, so you read the entire stanza, so a group of lines will make up a stanza. You read the entire stanza and ensure that you understand the theme or the main idea of what they are saying there. Right, so using punctuation as a guide. Let's go to the next point on punctuation. Right, stop where there's a period or other end marks, not at the end of the line. So this is basically the same thing we're telling you here. Right, so if it's a line, right, go ahead to the next line or to the following where there's an actual end mark. So a punctuation mark, so your full stop, your question mark, or your exclamation mark, right? You want to get the entire idea, the complete thought of what the poet is saying. Notice any repetition of lines or if a rhythm was developed. Which lines show emphasis? So sometimes, commonly in poetry, there are lines that repeat itself, right? So you'll see a line repeating itself throughout the poem. Now, take that as a hint. There's definitely a question coming to ask you, why is this line being repeated? Why do you think this line is being repeated? Right? So you must be able to pinpoint that line and pay attention to what the emphasis is in that line. Right? That's the reason for repetition, to create emphasis. Examine the language used and the phrasing of ideas. Have any comparison been made? How do the images enable you to make meaning? What figures of speech have been used? So now you're paying attention, right, to how or what literary devices and sensory details here, so it applies to imagery and so on, that may be used in your poem, right? Like I said, you cannot have a poem without your literary devices or your sensory details, right? Both are key when you are referring to poetry, so be very mindful of that. And like I said, because we did and completed all of the necessary figurative devices for what we need up until this point, ensure that you know them. Be able to identify what is a simile, what is a metaphor, personification, hyperbole, onomatopoeia, alliteration, and oxymoron. Those are all those are the literary devices that we covered thus far. Ensure that you can differentiate between each and every one. And if somebody asks you, or the question asks you, you know, to identify probably a metaphor or personification in the poem, you know to the top of your head, well, I know what is personification, or I can tell what is my metaphor, right? And then the example is going to become very clear to you. From the time you are reading the poem, you are going to say, well, this is probably a simile, right? This is personification. And more than likely, a question is going to ask you about that. Right, so you can underline keywords in the poem as you go along. I often like to do that when I'm breaking down my poem. I look at the lines, I look at the meaning of the words, right? Sometimes you come across a difficult word, you're not sure the meaning of it. Read the word in context, right? And that often helps us to figure out the meaning of the word, right? So context clues, a very important skill there, right? So here's an optional point, doesn't apply to the essay exam. I repeat, do not apply to the essay exam. Read the poem aloud, right? So this may work for you now as you are in practice mode. You can probably read a poem aloud if that is something that helps you, right? Not all of us need to read something aloud to understand it a bit better. If you do, that's fine as well. seek out a pattern, do words rhyme, right? So that's similar to the point where we're looking for repetition and so on, right? Some poems have different patterns, and you probably would have learned about patterns in poetry, probably at the lower levels, but we don't get questions, I don't commonly get questions about patterns itself, right? Like ABC or ABCD or ABBC, like those things, right? Summarize in your own words what the poem is about and try to understand the poem's tone and theme, right? So this is another key point here. Here we touched on tone, and earlier we looked at mood. Those are two very important terms we have to, and we are going to look at now before we get into poetry. We must understand what we mean by mood and what is meant by tone. Often we are given questions, well, what is the tone of the poem? Or what is the mood of the poem? Or what is the mood in stanza 2? Or what is the tone in stanza 3? Right? What is the difference between mood and tone? Do you know? Ask yourself now. Do you know? Right? And if you don't, right, be sure to sit up and pay attention. We are going to look at tone and mood. So the tone is a feeling or the atmosphere that the author has set in his or her story, right? And mood is a feeling or atmosphere that the reader gets when he is reading the story. So look at these two here. Tone here, right, is the feeling or the atmosphere that the author has set, right? So how the author feels when he's writing a story. The mood, however, is a feeling that the reader gets. So when you read the story, the poem in this case, how do you feel, right? How do you feel, or the feelings that you get from reading that poem? And tone, like I said, is the feelings that the poet projects, right? Or how do you think the poet feels writing that poem, right? To summarize this, you can understand the tone of a text is when you look at the words that the writer has used. On the other hand, the mood that a text creates has to do with what you as a reader feel when you read what the author has written, right? So let's just recap here. The tone here is telling you about the author's feelings. Tone, guys, is about the author's feelings. The mood is about your feelings, the feelings you get when you read the poem. So ensure, if you don't quite understand tone and mood, right, so probably you can reread the slide once you get some extra time. Try to understand it a bit better. And now it's important that you do, because we often, and I'm sure you can attest to this, get questions with mood and tone. All you need to remember, tone, right, is the feelings of the poet, and mood is your feelings, or the feelings that you get when you read the poem, right? So here are some examples of some tone words and some mood words. Now these here, right, can be used, any of these adjectives here can be used. So for mood, for example, we can use some from tone, or from tone, right, it might use some words from mood. This is not set in stone, so not to say that all of these words here listed for tone, right, is only for tone, right? It depends on the poem, and again, it depends on the feelings you get, right? So your mood or the tone of the poet, the feelings of the poet, right? It definitely depends on that. So these are some examples of some words that you can use, or examples of adjectives that you can use, right, in describing tone or mood, right? So you can say amused, humorous, angry, playful, sad, serious, suspicious, ironic, affectionate. Because oftentimes, what I realize, some of us, we like to stick to happy or sad. Now, nothing is wrong with that, but we do know synonyms for happy and for the word sad, right? So try to use them, right? Often, you can use synonyms. So if you say that you come across the poem and you find it's happy, you can say joyful, right? Either answer is correct once you put the correct answer, right? Some examples of mood: melancholy, right? Frightening, mysterious, frustrating, romantic, gloomy, sorrowful, joyful, satisfied, stressed, relaxed. And the list goes on and on for both of these, right? For tone and for mood. You can choose any adjective as long as it is relevant, of course, to the tone or mood of the poem. Good. So now that we have completed everything necessary before we jump into poetry, so that is talking about sensory details, and we looked at that quite in depth, right, especially for creative writing and figurative language. We also looked at that in depth, right? So we fully understand, you know, some of the tools that we are working with for poetry. And then we just looked at the difference between tone and mood. We also understood what is a verse, right? So a verse, if you zoom up here a little bit, right, a verse can be a line, right? A verse will be a line, and a stanza will be a group of lines. So these 4 lines here will make up a stanza, right? So we know what is stanza, we know what is a verse. Now what I want to point out to you here, the numbering to the side of your poem, right? So here it is numbered in 5s. Reason being, right, this 5 here tells me that this line here starts on line 5. Now here, if I go exactly at 15, this is exactly at line 15. Okay, probably can't see it right. This is exactly at line 15. Now the reason this is numbered like this, right, because one of the questions might be, what does noise gathers as children shout mean? Right, you go back now, you know where line 15 is, you go back 1, that's 14, you go back 1, 13, or up here, 10, on line 10. Explain what line 10 means, right? Or they might ask you, what does line 20 mean? It's simple. They don't want you to go and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until you have counted all the lines in your poem. It is simply numbered here, so it is easy for you to identify the line that they are referring to in the question for you to locate your answer, right? I'm sure a lot of you have already know that, right? But I'm just pointing it out. I don't want to miss any parts or important detail necessary for understanding a poem. It's really important. If you look to the side here, this is actually the title of the poem. Now, the only reason I put the title to the side here because I wanted this poem to fit exactly on this page, right? Notice the text also isn't very large, but don't worry, we are going to zoom on that, right? The reason being, if it was any larger, I'd have to put it into 2 different slides, and usually in a poem, I like to see my poem on 1 page. It helps me understand it a bit better, right? Instead of having to flip back and forth between pages, right? That's the only reason I have it like this. Of course, you know, your title is usually written to the top. The author of a poem is usually written to the bottom, right? Okay, so I do have to take a break. It's time for Maghrib, but don't go anywhere, guys. When we return, we are going to read this poem and start answering some questions based on this poem. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome back to See Results. If you're just joining me, I'm Miss Nyla, and we are on to poetry, so that is ELA paper, section 2. So like I said, we completed the graphic already, so we're actually working backwards on this paper, right? So we completed all of section 1, so that is spelling, punctuation, and grammar. And we went on to section 2, and we're actually working backwards, right? So we completed graphic representation, and we have just started poetry. This is actually the first poem that we're going to be looking at. And soon, don't worry guys, before the SE exam, I do hope to look at some comprehension passages, right? So fiction and non-fiction. But we'll get to that soon enough. So going back to this poem here, we haven't read the poem as yet, right? So we're going to read the poem now, right? And guys, students, you know, who want to answer the question, and those of you who will be calling, and of course to all of our viewers, right, pay close attention to what the poem is saying. Look at each line, look at each stanza, try to identify, like I said, any literary devices that you may find as you go along, right? So, and like we said, take the title of the poem as a clue. That was one of the very first points or tips, right, in interpreting a poem. So the title of this poem is actually A Sudden Storm, written by, okay, so don't hold me to this, right, guys? I'm not sure if it's Pius Olehe or Pius. I'm not sure exactly the pronunciation, right? But the title of the poem is A Sudden Storm. Now, when you read the title of the poem, what immediately comes to mind? Right, so it's something, we know it's a storm, right, and the word sudden tells us it's going to happen when, right? So you have to be mindful of that, take that as a clue, right? So let's read. The wind howls, the trees sway, the loose housetops sheets clatter and clang. The open window shuts with a bang, and the sky makes night of day. In a frenzy, the parents run, burdened with 1,000 minor cares. Hey, you there, pack the household wares, and where on earth's my son? Home skip the little children. Where have you been, you naughty boy? The child feels nothing but joy, for he loves the approach of the rain. The streets clear, the houses fill, the noise gathers as children shout, to rival the raging wind without, and north that can move is still. A bright flash, a lighted plane, then from the once blue heaven, accompanied by noise that deafens, steadily pours the rain. So now that we have read the poem, I want to analyze what each stanza means, right? So let's look at this line by line first. The wind howls, the trees sway, right? So off the bat, right, what literary device is used there? Right, now, how do you know a literary device is used there? I'm not going to give out the answer, right? Because somewhere along the line in this poem, those are some questions that we're going to come across, right? But as you read it, that should be something that stands out to you. Once you know your literary devices, that is going to be something that stands out to you, right? So if you read that first line and it meant nothing to you guys, a piece of information is missing, right? Ensure that you get a piece of information, right? So here, the wind is making a noise, right? A howling noise, and the tree is swaying. What does that tell you, right? What does that tell you about the atmosphere, right? We know it's going to be a sudden storm. So now they're preparing, or before they get prepared, actually, right? The wind here is telling us a story, right? And the action of the trees, right? So we have some strong winds going on there. The loose housetop sheets clatter and clang. So maybe they have some galvanized roofs, right? So we hear these sheets because they are loose, right? Not properly tacked down. Or maybe it was, right? And due to the strong winds, it became loose, clatter and clang, right? Those two words there are important. Why? Right? I'm not telling you as yet. What does that tell you about the house, right? So that's a noise that it is making. The open window shuts with a bang, right? So a window, and you will notice I'm going through this line by line just for the sake of everyone. I do want you to understand the poem fully, right? So don't get, you know, probably discouraged. You have to wait too long to call to answer questions, right? This is a bit important right now. So let's take it one step at a time. The window shuts with a bang. So the open window shuts with a bang, right? So picture your home, right? We often have windows open here in our in our country, right? We have our windows open. And if a strong breeze blows, right, when the window shut, right, and what sound will it make? And the sky makes night of day, right? This point here, I don't exactly want to give it away because there is a question surrounding that point, but I want you to take your time and understand this. And the sky makes night of day, right? They are telling us something is happening, but what is happening? Based on the information given in this stanza here, what can you say? What inference can you draw that tells us the sky makes night of day, right? What is happening? In a frenzy, the parents run. Right, so frenzy, what does that word suggest? The word frenzy there tells us helter-skelter, right? So they're busy, up and down, burdened with 1,000 minor cares, right? That line also gives us a piece of or key information here. What does burdened with 1,000 minor cares tell us about the parents, right? So I'm also not going to expand on that point because there's a question on it, but when we do reach to that question, I'm going to share the information, right? Hey, you there, pack the household wares, and where on earth's my son? Right, so somebody here, or a parent, we can infer from this stanza here, the first line in the verse, they're telling us, giving a command, right? So somebody who's passing by, you go and do this, you go and do that. And then they're searching for their son, right? Because the place is so busy, like they said, in a frenzy, right? They can't probably locate all their children. They're trying to get organized for what's about to happen. Home skip the little children. Why do they use the word skip here, right? What does the word skip indicate about the children's feelings? What does that tell us, right? So they're probably telling us that the children is happy. If children, something like this is happening, right? A sudden storm, and children are skipping home. That suggests that they are probably happy, right? Let's go on and see. Where have you been, you naughty boy? Right, so the parent is now asking this question because remember, she was looking for her son earlier on. The child feels nothing but joy. And just as I said here in this first line, right, the skipping, that word they associated with happiness, right, the child feels nothing but joy. They're telling us here, in fact, the child is happy, for he loves the approach of rain. A lot of children love rain. They're excited by rain. Some of them like to even play in the rain, so maybe that's a reason why. Moving on to your next stanza. The streets clear, the houses fill, right? So when they say the streets clear, they're telling us that the people are moving out, right? The houses fill, so they're moving out from the streets, going into the houses, right? The noise gathers as children shout. So now, because they said the houses fill, of course, as a result of that, there's going to be a lot of people in one area, so now it's going to have noise as children shout. And we do know there are children here present to rival the raging wind without, right? So the wind here itself is making noise, right? So the wind is making noise on one hand. When you hear the word raging wind, what do you think of? Or furthermore, right? Can you hear that sound, raging wind? You can literally hear it, right? We know some violent winds, some strong winds going on there. So we have noise from the children, and we have the raging wind giving us a separate set of noise, and naught that can move is still, right? So that line there also, a question is going to be revolved around that, so I don't want to share a lot of information. But there is this word here, naught, that I want to point out to you, right? If you're not sure what the meaning of the word naught is, right, what you can do to help understand that, right, and naught that can move is still, right? So just try to read it in context of the stanza here and see if you can figure out the meaning, right? And if you cannot, I will help you when we get to that question. A bright flash, a lighted plane, right? So a bright flash here suggests what? Is lightning, right? A lighted plane. So the land, right, is clearly lighted because of the thunder, or why do I keep saying thunder? The lightning, right? So due to the bright lightning, right, the land or the area surrounding is now lighted, right? Really bright. Then from the once blue heaven, accompanied by noise that deafens. So let's take those two lines there. Right, from the once blue heaven, referring to the sky outside, like on a regular sunny day, right, where you have clouds and sun and so on, a beautiful day, accompanied by noise that deafens. That noise there which noise can you think about that will deafen in a scenario such as this? And if you're thinking about thunder, then you are correct and on the right path, right? Definitely when thunder clashes, right, sometimes it's really unbearable, right? It's really deafening. Steadily pours the rain. And that last line there, steadily pours the rain, suggests what? That the rain has finally started, right? So if on your first read of this poem, right, you were a little bit confused, I hope now that we have reread the poem and analyzed it line by line, that you understand it a bit better, right? So let's go to the questions. All right, the first question here, give 2 words or phrases that appeal to the sense of hearing, right? So here, like I said, we always look at sensory detail and we also always look at figurative language, right? So as you can see, the very first question here applies to sense of hearing, sensory detail. So they want 2 words or phrases that appeal to the sense of hearing. So we're going to open the lines. Feel free to call us. I'm going to definitely go back to the poem. Right, the poem is there for you. We're going to zoom on this a little bit. And I want you to identify 2 words or phrases that appeal to the sense of hearing. So let's take this call. Hi, good day, welcome. Hi, good evening, welcome to See Results.
Hi, my name is Jacob.
Hi, Jacob, welcome. So did you see the question?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want you to give me 2 words or phrases that appeal to the sense of hearing. Which 2 words or phrases here appeal to the sense of hearing?
Okay. I think, wait, I'm waiting for the thing to, the noise got children shout.
Children shout, okay, that's one.
And the wind howls.
The wind howls. All right, so we'll take that answer, right? That's correct, right? So look at this here, right? Now, yes, that one with the children and the noise and so on, that is also correct, but we have some others here, right? While they asked for 2, I just gave you a couple that's that came across in the poem. So they wanted 2 words or phrases that appeal to the sense of hearing, right? So when they're talking about sense of hearing here, right, we can refer to the word clang, bang, howls, clatter. All of those are words here, if you notice, in the first stanza, right? So the wind howls, right? The rooftops here, or the sheets of the housetops clatter and clang, right? All of that appeals to sense of hearing, right? Window shuts with a bang. Children making noise here, right? So all of that, raging wind can even appeal to the sense of hearing. You can hear those things, right? So easy 2 marks. Next question. Identify the mood in stanza 1 and give 1 example to support your answer, right? So I do have a caller here and I'm going to take this call. Good evening and welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, welcome. What's your name?
Dr.
Nice to have you with us. So this question here, identify the mood in stanza 1 and give 1 example to support your answer. My first question to you, what is mood?
Well, mood is how the reader feels after.
Right, good. How the reader feels when reading the poem, right? So let's zoom on stanza 1 here. Right, and so we're looking at stanza 1. So the first 4 lines. And we want to identify the mood here. Take a second, read it.
The mood is, will the mood be scared?
Sorry?
Will the mood be scared? And along is the wind howls, the trees speak.
Okay, just 1 second. What did you say the mood was?
Scared.
Can you say that again?
Scared.
Scared, okay. Right, and the line is?
The wind howls, the trees sway.
Okay, great. Right, so that answer is correct and we will take that. Right, so the mood is how the reader feels when reading or having read the poem. Right, so from reading that, the mood in stanza 1 is terrifying. Terrifying or any synonym, right, along with it. So scared, frightened, all of those will be correct. Also, they're asking you to give one example to support your answer, right? So that person gave the example of the wind howls, the tree sways, right? That is a scary image, right? Or even something to witness. Similarly, could have said, and the sky makes night of day, right? Again, this line here, I'm reserving that for when I do come to that question, right? I want to share that with you, right? So anything along those lines will be correct. Your answer will be correct. Next question. And the sky makes, and here we are, and the sky makes night of day, which is on line 4. What does this line tell the reader? And as I was saying, guys, this is why they put line 4 or tell us and number the poem, right? So it's easy for us to go back and just pinpoint the line that they are talking about, right? And the sky makes night of day, which is on line 4. What does this line tell the reader, right? So what is this line telling you when you read the poem? I do have a call on the line. Good evening and welcome to See Results. And we're just going to... Hi, good evening. Okay, so we're just going to zoom on stanza 1. Right, so it's actually line 4. Call, are you there with us?
Yes.
Okay. What's your name?
David.
Okay, welcome, David. So, and the sky makes night of day. What does that line tell you?
It tells me that the sky, that the clouds in the sky are so dark that it makes the person remember the night.
Okay, that's part of the answer, but think about it. Anything else? So any other answers you might want to give us there?
No, that's it.
All right, no problem, David. Thank you for calling.
Okay.
Okay, right. I'm going to see if I have another call to help me with this. I really want students to understand what is meant by this line, right? And I really want that students will be able to, you know, give the answer rather than I tell you myself, right? So I'm going to give it a second, see if we have any more callers there to call us and tell us what line 4 means. Again, right? So all of this is going on. Picture this scenario, right? We can probably just zoom again, right? And we do have a caller to help us. Let's see. Good evening and welcome to See Results.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Malachi.
Hi, Malachi. Welcome. So we want to know, and the sky makes night of day, so which is line 4. What does that line tell you?
Okay. That line tells me that it is actually daytime.
It is what?
It is daytime.
Uh-huh.
But it's so dark that it can be considered night.
Why is it dark?
Because the clouds are covering the sun.
Very good. That's the answer that I wanted there, right? It is important. Thanks for calling and giving us your answer, right? So, guys, when you're answering questions, I want you to think about the best possible answer, the answer that the examiner would want to read, right? Closest in, to the correct answer, right? So they said, and the sky makes night of day. So yes, we know it's daytime, right? We know it's going to have a storm, right? But usually think about a storm, and I want you to think about this in depth to any poem that you are reading, right? And you know it's about a storm. When is you having a storm, right? And we're looking outside. How does the place look? Yes, it's dark, right? So daytime is starting to look like night. But why is it turning dark, right? That's the important part there. This line tells the reader that there were dark rain clouds, right? Or heavy rain clouds overtaking the sky, blocking out the sun. So that part or that piece of information was important where you said blocking out the sun, right? Because the sun is what gives us a day or brightness, right? So I hope you understand that. And if you did not get that correct, I want you to reread the poem, reread that line, and see if you understand it a bit better now, right? And we do have a next caller here to help us, but let me just read the question. Why were the parents described as burdened with 1,000 minor cares, which is on line 6? So let's see if this caller can help us. Good evening and welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. What's your name?
Aidan.
Hi, Aidan. So, did you get a chance to read number 32 as yet?
Yeah.
Okay. So, that line, right? Why were the parents described as burdened with 1,000 minor cares?
Because it had so much to do during the storm. They were in a frenzy.
Say that again?
they had so much things to do during the storm, they were in a frenzy.
Yes, correct. We will accept that answer, right? Thank you so much. Right, so they were described as burdened with 1,000 minor cares because they were worried about all the little things that they had to do in order to prepare for the storm. So as he said, they had a lot of things to do. And of course, they were worried about the situation and getting things done in time for the storm. Right, so correct. Next question there. Identify 2 examples of personification in the poem. Right, so I'm going to take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results.
Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results. Good evening.
Hi, welcome. What's your name?
Good evening. Hi, welcome. What's your name? This is Shania.
Hi, Shania. So my first question to you, what is personification?
Personification is giving life to an inanimate object.
Right, great. So you know that already, right? So tell me, give me 2 examples of personification here in this poem. Are you there with us, Shania?
No. Okay. Are you there with us, Shania? Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, so we have the wind howl. Okay, so we have
yeah.
the wind howl. Yeah.
Shania, did we lose you? Okay, unfortunately, we lost that call, but she was definitely...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, you went quiet for a second. So the wind howls, and what is the next answer?
So the wind howls, and what is the next answer? And the sky makes night of day.
Okay. All right, I could take that. But still looking at the first stanza, any others there?
Any others there? Burdened with 1,000 minor cares?
No. All right, no problem, Shania. Thank you so much for calling.
Thanks.
Right, so let's look at the first stanza, right? The wind howls, right? Wind cannot actually howl, right? It's a sound that it will make if there's strong wind. The trees sway, right? Swaying is a movement attached to humans, right? So here, the trees sway, right? That is given life, not to an inanimate object, but a non-human object, right? Of trees swaying. So those can be 2 examples of personification. It's on your first line, just as you start reading your poem. Now, Shania said, and the sky makes night of day. I can definitely understand why she said that, right? And I would not say it's totally incorrect, right? Because, like I said, I do understand she's saying the sky here is making something. So she will be, or I will give her that question, or answer, sorry, correct as well, right? So any of these and that other one. So good so far. So we're on number 34. Parents and children have different feelings about the storm. Complete the table below to show these differences. Right, so now we're looking at this table. This is a different type of question. It's in a table form, right? If you read the table, it says persons in the poem, feelings, details from the poem. So this is how they want you to answer the question. We have children in the poem, so these are the persons, and we have parents. Feelings, the children are happy, parents are anxious. Now what is missing here? The details. So you have to give me a detail that supports the happy emotion of children, and the anxious emotion, or 2 details that supports this anxious feeling of the parents, right? So we have a caller here. Good evening and welcome to See Results.
Hello.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi.
What's your name?
Iran.
Hi, welcome. So did you see the question?
Yes.
Okay, so let's do the first part. Give me the detail or a piece of information from the poem that supports the children's happy feelings.
The child feels nothing but joy.
Right, great job. And the second one? Parents.
Just will be in a frenzy. The parents run.
Yes, yeah. And secondly?
Burden with 1,000 minor cares.
Excellent job. Well done. Right, so you will receive all 3 marks for that question. Right, thanks for calling. Right, so as you rightfully said, the children feel nothing but joy. Right, in a frenzy, the parents run, So that is telling us there something about the parents. They are anxious or similarly burdened with 1,000 minor cares. Great job, guys, so far. Next question. Explain what is suggested by the streets clear, the houses fill. So on line 13, so now they're asking you, what does this line mean? Let's see if this caller can help us. Good evening and welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening. Caller, are you there with us? Okay. I'm not sure if that caller is there. I'm not hearing anything, so we're probably just going to take another call. Good evening and welcome to See Results.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. What's your name?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes, hello. Are you hearing me?
My name is Keisha James.
Nice to have you with us. So this question here, we want to know, what does this line mean, or does this line suggest? The streets clear, the houses fill. So,
yes.
Right, we're just going to zoom in there to the 4th stanza. Right, so the streets clear, the houses fill. Good.
Yes.
What do we mean by this line here?
That means that the children
yes.
are now leaving the streets and
right.
they are going into their houses.
Very good. Right? Simple enough. Right? So straight to the point. That line suggests that persons on the streets will now seeking shelter indoors until the storm comes and passes. So thanks so much for calling. Right? So again, the line, the streets clear. So it is telling us, right, that people are moving out from the streets. People are no longer there. Right? The house is filled, simply meaning that they left from the streets and went indoors. Why are they going indoors? Because we know that they're expecting a storm. Right? Next question. According to the poem, identify one word from stanza 4 which means the same as nothing. Right? So let's see if this caller can help us. Good evening. Hi, good evening. Hi, welcome. What's your name?
Zachary.
Hi, Zachary. So from stanza 4, right, we're going to zoom to stanza 4 there. Right, so this last line, sorry, I actually almost gave you the answer there. Right, so the question was, which word, right, identify one word from stanza 4 which means the same as nothing. So in stanza 4, which word means the same as nothing?
Is the answer not?
Yes, the answer is not. Right, not is a synonym for the word nothing. So you are correct. Right, thanks for calling. So I almost gave away that answer, but I'm certain he got that out by himself. Right, so a word from stanza 4 that means the same as nothing is not. Right. Number 37. List the 2 sources of noise mentioned in stanza 4. So again, they want you to go back to stanza 4. Now they want 2 sources of noise. Let's see if this caller can help us. Good evening. Hi, good evening. Welcome to See Results. So again, we are zooming on stanza 4. Hi, welcome.
My name is Keisha James.
Nice to have you with us. So we're on stanza 4, and I want 2 sources. I want you to give me 2 sources of noise in this stanza. So this is stanza 4 here.
Yes.
Yes, what will be 2 sources of noise from...
It is noise gathers and children shout.
Right, so, and your second one?
Raging wind.
Right.
And...
Well, it's just 2 that they asked for, right?
Children shout.
Okay, great. So those are your 2 answers. Right,
Yeah.
so the 2... Thank you so much for calling.
Yeah.
So the 2 sources of noise, guys, in stanza 4, children shouting, the raging wind. Now, if you weren't sure about answering this question and you go back to stanza 4 and you read it line by line, you would actually, you can actually picture or visualize this. The noise gathers. This is actually telling you wholesale, giving you the answer, right, as children shout. So we know one source is children to rival the raging wind. And like we described, right, when we talk about raging wind, we're talking about strong winds. And when we usually have strong winds, it is accompanied by sound or noise, right? So, and your last line doesn't suggest any form of noise. So definitely those are your 2 answers, right? So, and I believe this is the last question here to help us wrap up. In your own words, describe what happened in stanza 5. Let's see if this caller can help us. Good evening and welcome to See Results.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. Welcome.
Hi.
What's your name?
This is Aidan again.
Hi, Aidan. So, welcome back. So, in your own words, I want you to tell me or describe what happens in stanza 5.
In stanza 5, the storm arrives, but really in the beginning there was a plan for the storm, and in stanza 5 the storm arrives and lightning is flashing and rain is falling.
Okay. All right, we'll take that answer, right? Of course, I know you would have put that in a complete sentence, and you would have definitely narrowed down to only stanza 5, right? So, let's just read stanza 5. A bright flash, a lighted plane. Then from the once blue heaven, accompanied by noise that deafens, steadily pours the rain, right? So that answer is correct, right? So in stanza 5, it can be said that there were heavy clouds, right? Then from above, thunder strikes. And we know thunder is what gives us a deafening sound. And then the rain began to fall at last, right? So, great. So that was the end of this poem. So we are just in time, right? So that was the first poem that we analyzed. I hope this was really helpful to you guys. As we go on again tomorrow for ELA, we are going to continue with poetry, right? We want to get sufficient practice in for poetry. What we have noticed, a lot of students are definitely having difficulty in this area. And I do understand why, but I do want you to make an extra effort to understand or to take the tips here that I mentioned and put it into practice, right? Use them to better understand or to help you in poetry. Before I go, I must also, and I mentioned about our Edmodo class, right? Each and every day we do have new persons joining us and would like to join this class. And if you're interested, you new viewer today, parent or student, right? This is our class code. Feel free to message us on Facebook at See Results if you don't have access to the code there, right? As some persons often do. It's also on your screen at the moment, right? The instructions are simple for both students and parents to sign up and become a member of the Edmodo class. Remember, parents, only students can take the quiz. You are there to monitor, right, your children, see how they are progressing, right? And we are seeing progression since the start of the program with some students, and we would like to see it with all students, right? So encourage your child to become a member of the class, an active member, I should say, right? Do all of our quizzes and look forward to our feedback as we usually give. I want to thank you all for joining us today for mathematics and ELA. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. we are going to be back with some more English language arts, and of course tomorrow we have creative writing, where we're going to continue our report writing, right? So make sure join us for that. Also, I must remind you that we have replays or reruns of the show. So every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday that we have shows, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday respectively, we have reruns on the show right here on Channel 8, IBN TV, right? And also, if you missed that opportunity, you can go on our YouTube page, right? See Results, or our Facebook page, all of those where you have opportunities to rewatch the videos. So you don't have any excuse, guys, to miss any of the important information that you are getting here to help you get ready for the SCA exam. Right? It has been a pleasure being in your company for the past hour, guys, and I do look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I do hope you have a pleasant afternoon. I will see you guys tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening.
I'm a cool kid, you're a cool kid, we are cool kids, are you a cool kid? Every day I want it, I need to drink lots of it, full of fruit, vitamin C, give me lots of it. My imagination is growing and so am I. I'm getting big, so give me fruit of cool kids, it's so juicy, so I could touch the sky.
Become a cool kid now by visiting www.fruiticoolkids.com.
Chiclesia Limited, the Caribbean's largest manufacturers of plain and printed paper bags, leaders in plastic bags, vermicelli, split piece powder, and greaseproof paper, ideal for doubles, french fries, and sandwiches. Supplying stores nationwide. For quality products, trust Chiclesia Limited, 665-3336.
For the everyday lowest prices on all grocery items, trust low-cost supermarket.